Since we are all looking for the self, that's the best reason to get lost. How can you look for the self? What is? The self is. That's the same way to try and find awareness. To become awareness, conscious of awareness. But all that is happening in awareness. Whatever thoughts arise, they are in awareness. They cannot arise next to awareness. Even if you don't give it attention, it happens in awareness. And awareness is that self. That's what you are. You cannot look for awareness because it is awareness looking. And you cannot look for the self because it is the self looking. It's the most simple knowing, and you don't need to read many books or go to teachers and sit in a strange attitude with your knees folded and pain in the legs to try to find awareness. It is all happening in awareness. You are conscious of what you do, so how can you look for consciousness? What are we looking for? To feel good? To feel better? Well, if you stop searching, you will feel good. If the mind says you have to do a lot of things to become happy, then you will not be happy. You see? Happiness is the state of the self. It is what you are. It's not joy or a moment of happiness when you get a present. That's emotion. But happiness itself is nothing that points to happiness, because happiness is all. It is to be. It is the self. And there are moments that it comes straight through all mind stuff. It enters, so-called. It doesn't enter, but it is felt, and then it is a state of bliss. But bliss is not a state. Bliss or happiness, it is the reality of your being if you don't search for it. But in the beginning, when you know nothing, then there is this inner feeling that life can offer you much more than only waking up and eating and going shopping and television and sleep again. There must be something more that's from the inner. And then you try to find what it is, and that's being aware. It is being aware of waking up and eating and shopping and seeing movies and going to bed again. It's not about what is done in the day, but that you are aware. That's being the self, where we are looking for in all kinds of being busy in the day, trying to find the self, in doing things. But that takes you away in the doing. Then your attention of being aware is lost in the doing. And there you feel imprisoned. It's something is missing. But it is all about being aware. Are you aware of the words, the vision, the talk? Or are you aware of being aware of the talk? The talk is a way, the words is wisdom, it's a way back to awareness. It's not about what is said, but that it brings awareness in existence. Although it could never be not existing, but you were lost with your mind in all kinds of things. So that only thing to remember is be aware. And what is in awareness coming up doesn't matter, it will go. But awareness will always be there. That is yourself. You will always be there. You cannot lose yourself. You cannot lose awareness. You can lose awareness of the self. Yes, when you go into the things that you try to do to be happy and to find your state of good feeling. If you stop looking for it, it is there. What a stupid game. But that also is happening in awareness. Be happy, you are happy. Every single thing, all this here, what you see and hear, it's your own fantasy. It's so strange. You hear people talking, and you know they think it is real. They act as if it is their doing and they can decide, and that's around you. But all is your own fantasy. That is inside your knowing. So you really know all that comes out of you, that appears, even your own form. That is the fantasy of your being. If you know that it is fantasy, you change your attitude. You understand that whatever is done by your form, what is spoken by your mind, thoughts, that it is fantasy rolling out of your real being. And in this fantasy, you as form act different because you know you are done, you are being moved in the fantasy of that great self-being. And still, although you know it's your fantasy, there are forms around you that shout and move and act as if they are the ones doing it. That's the duality of that one being that you are. You are silence. And you make up forms that move. And when that one of those forms that move, this is where you are in, this knowledge is growing in you, in this specific form. The knowledge is growing, that all comes from the inner. The knowledge, the beingness, the movements come out in the form of that what you are. But you also know that these shouting people also come out of the inner. And still they act as if they are the doer. So that means, although you are one, there's always duality in you, in your expression, that's to say. Not the expression of this form, this consciousness that has realized it is not the doer in this special form, but in the form of the people around you. That same being acts as if it is doing all in that form. So in this form it knows it is not the doer, and in the other forms it acts, it doesn't know it's not the doer. So the duality remains. As long as you have this body and think and feel and experience the life on earth, this life here, getting up in the morning and falling asleep in the night and acting in between, as long as you are in this form, you have to experience the duality. Because you are also in the form of the other that thinks, I do this, I do that, you are wrong, I decide this. And you as form, knowing you are not a doer, are different from the form that says, I am the doer. I decide, I am this. And you know I am not this. But still it all comes from that one inner formless consciousness, God or knowing or self, or name it what you want, this one unknown beingness. It splits itself in the yes and in the no. And although you know you are the yes of that beingness, and you are the no of that formed, separated, still the other thing, they are the no's. They are not realized. So I mean, you are realized that you are not the one in this form, and all the others around you. So there must be difference. Could be even come to a fight, but that's because you know they can't help it. They are unaware. You don't fight, but the others fight with you. They say that you are a silly idiot, and how come you think you are God? Look at her. She thinks she is special. That's what they think. But you know that they are thinking they are special. So as long as you live, there will be duality. And you inside you know this I is the reality. This I am is formless. It is just the beingness. But the I am this, I am that is around you. So you live in a sea, in an ocean of meanings and opinions and differences, and that goes on. So keep on to your real self. That's the best thing to do. It's not your doing anymore. Inside, this wisdom has taken over. And still around you, you see all the others still asleep. separated, um, working hard to get the best out of their lives, and you smile about it because you know they are so mistaken. They are so imprisoned in their personal mind. Just let it be. They too will break open and just feel compassion. It's the real self inside, guiding all of us to that self-being that it is. It is the real being that you are, and they are also that being, but they don't know it. So that's difficult to be with them. But the God inside has taken care of it, and He gives you all the time you need to be alone, to feel the peace of being that real self, the happy state of non-dualism, no separation, the bliss of being. What you can do in the day is just stay in awareness. Whatever is around you, moving and making noise, you are not that play of consciousness playing its role in all forms, making noise. You are not that. You are not even this talk and this personal figure. You are the knowingness. You know, knowing is without anybody in it. Knowing is formless. Be aware. Awareness has no form. It has nothing to do with forms. It is the silent peace inside. Nothing can happen to that awareness. It's the most happy state, and it's eternal. Be happy. It's what you are. Awareness. Not of things, but of awareness itself. To know that you are not this body, this mind, these thoughts, that you are the inner being, and still experiencing the body, the mind, the thoughts, feeling captured. That is so double. Although you know this is not real, this is not even existing, you still feel as if it is existing. What can you do? Not a single thing. When you only knew about this form, you were walking around in the form and getting things and living and feeling lost and feeling good and gaining and losing all that duality in this human life. And then all of a sudden inside this knowing coming up. Wow, you are not this. You are that free state. And you have the body to find that out. And then the start is you work by letting go everything, not being bothered, not gaining, not having a goal, a purpose for yourself, not trying to be better or feeling more than someone else. That's a lot of work in the years that pass. Then you break down your ego. It's not really ego, but it is the separated feeling. It has to be broken down, and it will hurt. There will be so much trouble, and you have to feel it and experience it as real. You have to grow through all those pain, and then there is a moment that times get easier and more silence in your life. But still there is this knowing inside, this is not the reality, this is not what I am. I am the witness, the observer, and still you are in this body. So at that point, when you know you are not this, there is no one able to get out, because there is no more I feeling of having a purpose. The purpose was to know what you are, and then that's realization. I realize that I am not this body, that I am the inner self. I realize that. That's realization. But still you are in this body. And the next level is enlightenment. There will be no more heavy stuff to carry. What do you say? To carry, to bear, to undergo. And that is not your work anymore. That is the work of the inner self. It will make you know and realize that you really are this enlightened being inside. And then there's this hop. I am enlightened being, I have nothing to do with the world, and then bam, there's something that happens that touches you. It's not with yourself, not with your body, but with the dearest around you. That's what is the most dear to you, children. And then to know at that moment, I am not this person. They too are not that person. They too are the inner self inside. I know it, I am this inner self. But you know, they don't know it, and that's why they suffer. And when you see they suffer, that's your suffering. Then you cannot help. You cannot help yourself, but that's okay. You offered yourself to the great inner knowing, the God inside. But you know God is in them also, and when they suffer, they have to bear it like you did when you were young and didn't know about realization and God, and you just lived your life and you suffered. But it brought you wisdom. So The only thing you can understand that will help a little, that they too shall reach that light. The God in them is the same God as in you, and He knows what to do. So offer all to Him. He will take care. He promised. God promised to bring you to the light. And He is in all beings. And He will bring all beings to the light. So now your suffering can stop. Compassion, that's all. But be brave, go on. God will take you. And He will take the others, everyone. Because God is everyone. God can never abandon the others because He is all. He cannot abandon Himself. Be at peace. All is well. You know what? This is the most freeing feeling that you can have. This life is not my business. I have nothing to do with it. I cannot arrange things in it. It is God's doing. And I learned to surrender totally. It is not just surrendering and then forgetting and thinking you can do things and change things. No, you have no voice. Total surrender means not existing as a person, although you are still a separated form. That is what is to surrender. It is God's doing. He knows for all beings around me. He is inside them and He knows best. And that's your freedom. And what's more, all your life you have never chosen whatsoever. It was all the will of God that happened. Even when He made you think you were choosing things, it was His doing. If that doesn't make you free. Whatever you feel or think or sense or experience, it is God pushing you through all that adventures, growing to the wisdom that you as a person never existed, that it was always God's doing. So, how happy can you be? As a person, nothing has been done by you, no mistake has been made by you, and as God being, you feel the reality growing inside to your real self. It is God's growing to Himself through all the adventures that He planned in this body form, which is God growing to Himself. Just the feeling of surrender makes this possible. You surrender because you have seen that you have no chance. You cannot do anything. You are just a fish. Into God in His plan, in His growing. It is always God, it has always been God inside you, in all of us, making His plan, His play, and finding Himself. And the surrender is the freedom of the soul. you are free. You know that whatever happens, you cannot change it. You can never change what happens. You cannot do anything about it because it is not yours. What you are is the one seeing it. You are awareness. And that is your reality. You cannot do what is seen, what is being aware of. And you need not do anything about that because it is not your own. It is not your property. It's just the play of God, of the reality that is discovering and realization of that self. That's not your doing, but you are aware, and that is your doing. You are awareness, and whatever is seen, it's not yours. You are empty. You are nothing. You are not that, what you see. And that's your freedom. You can read a book with a bank robber and killers and whatever happens, but you are not that. You are not the victim in the book. And to know that, that's your freedom. While you see the movie, you can enjoy it or put it away, but you are not the one in the movie. Now, this life is the movie. It is the play of that high consciousness, the God inside. He decides what is going on, what is passing, and it is not your doing. So you have nothing to do in this life with your own personal movements. It is God moving you towards His light and understanding, towards His freedom, the freedom of awareness. You are aware of what is going on, but you are not what is going on. That's the story in the book of God or self or high consciousnness. The supreme self. It's not yours. You are an object in the story, but you are not capable of changing. And why should you? It's just a story. Be assured that you are the witness, and that's your freedom. Aware of your own awareness. Nothing to do with the story. That inner self, which has no form, it is knowing, it is all knowing. It is not visible, but it is very powerful, and it expresses itself by the light which comes out of that formlessness, and that shines through the eyes, and that nothingness that made up forms lost itself in the forms, like inner is invisible, and through the eyes, that light of that invisible being, there is this light coming out, and it shines on objects. And then what we are that nothingness, formlessness, but we have this cover of the light as our body, And we lose that what we are. We lose that in the forms that are shown, that are visible by the light coming out of through our eyes. It's not light from our eyes, it is the light through our eyes. And we see objects that we make where our light shines on, and we lose ourselves in the objects. And that is the human suffering. And then after long searching, we stop losing ourselves. And this light inside, this invisible light, stops making forms. So it will, as soon as it reached itself, it has no need of forms anymore, where it could lose itself to find itself. When it found itself, done, all is over. So when you look at something, there's this inner light showing, shining through the eyes, because eyes are a hole, there's a hole. This inner invisibility comes through this hole, and it sees the self-enlightened objects. Without this light, there would be no visible, no object seen. So this is invisible inside, and it makes that itself visible through the light, where it shines on the objects that it makes itself visible. And then it loses itself in the objects. Oh, it's hard to follow, but it's clear, very clear. You have no form, and you don't know it. And then you make up forms, and then you lose yourself in the forms that you shine on with your invisible light. The light becomes visible through the objects that you make. And then you, which have no form and nothing in it, you lose yourself in your own objects that you made. And that's what happens with the person. The person looks at something, sees an object, and loses itself in the object. Oh, that's nice, I want it. Well, and so your life goes on and on and on, until you know. You are aware of what you are doing, what you did, what was happening, because you didn't do it, but it happened. So it came from the inner that it happened. And then you know, I am not this person, I am that inner. And here I can do something about it, about losing myself. Not as a human being caught in the object. There I cannot help it. But when it hurts and it hurts and it hurts, and in one loss after another loss, and pain and suffering, at that time you start wondering, no, I can't have it anymore. And then from inner, there comes the possibility to change. That's from the inner. It's not your doing. You had to suffer before it started to change inside. So you work together with your own inner self. The inner self makes up fantasy and objects, and the outer form around it starts to grasp for the objects and loses and suffers, and then it gives up. It doesn't grasp anymore. And then from the inside there comes this, hey, it was not real. I know now what I am. I am not that object. I am not that form. I don't lose anything because I was never there. It was just my own fantasy. And that's the inner that speaks now. The inner found itself. And the inner and the outer form are now both equal in happiness. Okay, what a story. But it's not true. It's not real. You only thought so. You as a person thought it was real, but all the time inside there was this knowing, whatever happens, it's not real. I know what I am. I am bliss. I mean to say that I understand that what is told about in the beginning, we always start what's this journey of the soul. In the beginning, there was the silence and then the vibration, and out of the vibration came the creation, the manifestation, and we all, at least I think it's way before my time that it all started. But when you come to understand that this formlessness that started to vibrate and that light started to shine, that is not in the ancient times. It is now here, happening in you. That means there is no time. This is this flash of light that made creation, made the visibility, made the objects, made the forms. The formlessness in the beginning started, and then there was this creation. Well, this is now. Inside you, that formlessness from the ancient times is now here inside you. It is formless inside. And it starts to vibrate, it starts to shine its light on objects of that creation that it shines its light on. So it shines its light, and then there is this form. Well, this light is inside you, it comes through the holes of the eyes, and it shines on the objects that it is made, that are made by itself, by its own creation. It's not ancient times and then billions of years ago, like the scientists tell us, with the cosmic BAM, and then all the objects came, like the planets and that's the forms that where the light shined on from the beginning, and this is now here inside you. You are, this formlessness in you is ancient, it is eternal. It is not even ancient, it is everlasting, timeless. It's inside you, and it shines its light on that which it creates, and that is seen through the eyes. And that's now here. And when that is recognized, this timeless, formless being knows itself, and it is just in a flash of understanding, in one puff, and all the darkness is gone, and the unknowing. One flash of light moves away ages of darkness, and that is all now here inside you. Can you imagine the riches of the self, the power, the power of the creative entity that we call God? That's in you, and it creates itself, BAM! Every second, now, through your eyes, on the objects that are manifested. And you as a person think, oh, that's nice, I like that, I want to have it. Or, oh, that is a nice object, what is it? And you investigate and you see it, and it's this or it's that. But it is so in unawareness and ignorance, but it is the creation. That enormous power, this formidable creative power inside you, which has no form, makes the forms that you think to see. And that you is that creative power inside. And when you know that, you recognize that, you reach yourself, that is the eternal self. There's nothing more to understand. That's all that we can know. It's now happening here. You have that, you are that enormous formlessness with all the powers it can imagine. And it uses the eyes of the body that it made around it. And it shows its light through the body, through the form of the eyes, and you are lost in the objects that are seen. And you think that's the name of this, and this is called that, and that's I prefer, and well, it is just your own manifesting creative power that has no form. And that is coming through these holes outside, and it's lost in its own made up forms. But now you know what you are. You are this ancient formlessness which is timeless. We think it's in the beginning, it's from the beginning, the creation, but it is here and now. That's what you are, timeless. Timeless here, timeless now, and you that makes it up, you are that formlessness, eternally in bliss,